In our next series, I'm going to take you through the process of our excavation, concrete foundation, and then cladding the staircase in these charcoal pavers.
As the timber formwork establishes the step height, I'm able to accurately continue the excavation because it's going to set the depth of the concrete we'll be pouring later.
You come and go like a monsoon rain. You hide and show like a lightning bolt. You have it all.
Our latest staircase project involved using charcoal pavers laid over a concrete foundation. The idea was to create access from the parking space up here where the car is down to this pre-existing deck area. Pre-existing deck already had a triangular cutout on this corner. We had to make our staircase marry into this. We had to get from the height of the driveway up the top here where the car is down to this pre-existing deck. And due to the height from where the parking space is down to this deck area, it worked out to be 640mm steps. We also had some existing utilities in place. Gas and electric lines come underneath into this deck area, underneath the deck. So this triangular platform had to be at this height to allow the existing utilities to pass underneath it. Yesterday I finished the very top platform, and today I was tidying everything up, removing my temporary pathway, adding some gravel around the edges. The customer wanted to plant a garden on either side of the path, so that was part of the design of incorporating a 1500mm wide platform pathway that cascades down to this pre-existing deck. So by balancing all those factors together, this is the design we came up with. In our next series, I'm going to take you through the process of our excavation, concrete foundation, and then cladding the staircase in these charcoal pavers. Clearing a path through here to build a temporary access path and stairway. This allows the customer to be able to come and go safely, and also as I'm constructing this, I need to bring my concrete, gravel and materials in. To build our access path, I'll be using my preformed panels to create some stable flat areas for walking on and running my wheelbarrow down. So hopefully by the end of the day, I'm going to have a temporary pathway here and some of these pavers pulled up. This pathway staircase is probably 30 years old and the timbers are all rotting out. It's been a combination of timber and pavers and bricks. So today's job is to build our pathway here.
Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain. Beauty in the mundane. And as the startled our eyes, let go of disguise. And now there's something in the air, and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within.
That completes our access ramp. Now we're going to start on the demolition of all these pavers.
The old pathway comes apart quite easily. All the timbers are rotted and there's nothing really holding it to the ground. My client wants to use new pavers for this new pathway. The old pavers are still quite useful, so I'm giving them a rough clean up and stacking them off to the side for a future project.
Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time. Let up high, now we climb.
After removing all the old pavers, I've run into some concrete.
Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes.
That's enough for the first day excavation. We'll chip away at this concrete next week.
The concrete I've run into doesn't have any reinforcement steel in it, so it's breaking up relatively easily.
We've made a good start on demolishing the old pathway. My client had the weekend to think about the final design for this layout. And at first she was thinking about putting a ramp in. She had some friends over on the weekend and they decided it was going to be too steep. So we're actually going to put a staircase, probably 5 to 7 steps. Nice long broad steps, only 150 high. Anyway, this design change doesn't really affect me that much except for what I'm going to build. So this is the time to change your mind before we start pouring concrete. Because building the staircase or building the ramp, it's kind of the same thing as far as materials and excavation goes. But I will be excavating this slightly differently now that I know that it's a staircase. And the way we go about pouring the concrete and everything will be slightly different. Today's project is to get this lump of old concrete out of our way. It's an old pathway that was laying under the pavers. Luckily there's no steel mesh in it, so it's coming apart pretty easy. Once I've got all this concrete out of the way, we'll get some timbers and levels out and come up with a plan of how the staircase is going to lay out.
Standing underneath the lights, look into each other's eyes. Tired snowflakes are coming down, collapse into water when they hit the ground. I hear the sound of empty streets. Yesterday has gone to sleep, so all that's left is you and me. I can't promise you're the only thing I see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream.
I often find old concrete paths when I start excavating. Sometimes the concrete's solid with reinforcement, so I leave it in place and pour my new structure over the top of it. But in this case, the concrete's already cracked and doesn't have any reinforcement to hold it together, so it's best to remove it.
A lonely wind is passing by, tries to carry all the whispers that it finds. The walls are listening when we talk, making echoes as we walk. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away.
I need to rough out the dimensions of our pathway, starting by installing a temporary post to help me work out the elevation we need to reach from the deck to the parking space. By suspending a timber rail on our post that runs the length of the entire path, I'll be able to get some accurate measurements to help quantify the materials we're going to need. I'm staking out a 2x4 at the top of the pathway boundary. Then I can set the timber rail level and make an accurate calculation of what the exact elevation drop to the deck will be. By using a clamp on the end of the rail connected to the post, I adjust it up and down until I get the railing plumb and level. I can now get a measurement to get a rough estimation of what our elevation is from the deck to the end of the pathway. I take our height measurement, which in this case was 820mm, and divide it by 150mm stair heights. This gives me the amount of stairs I need to reach this elevation from the deck. At this stage, the numbers are quite rough and we can adjust them as needed to come up with a whole number. So in this case, I've decided to make the elevation 900, so we have an even amount of 150mm stairs. I adjust the timber rail to this new height of 900 and reset the level by adding some blocking under the high end of our pathway. There's room for adjustment on the start of the pathway near the parking space. I double check our rail is completely level and then get a chance to start to visualize how these steps are going to lay out along this path. I create a scale drawing of the pathway. This way I can work out the logistics of all the elements we're going to need to construct it. The drawing shows me the 6 points of elevation to get us from the deck to the parking space. It also calculates the area I'm going to need to cover, which helps me estimate the materials I'll need to order on site to cover the staircase. I transfer the dimensions of the drawing to the ground with strings and stakes. I need an accurate layout for the next stage of excavation as we cut the soil to fit the concrete that we'll be pouring later. The concrete foundation will be the support for the charcoal pavers we'll be gluing on to finish off our staircase. As part of tying in our new structure to the pre-existing structure, I need to incorporate the treated timber retaining wall that borders the deck area. I'm aligning this retaining wall extension so our stairs will be able to sit square on the edge of the existing deck. I'll need to remove some soil to fit the new retaining wall. I'm using my clamp and level to give me an indication of where to start the cut.
So all that's left is you and me. I can't promise you're the only thing I see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. And let our minds be caught up in a dream.
I'll be building the extension of the treated timber retaining wall out of the same material that's already in place. My connection into the pre-existing retaining wall needs a 30-degree cut on the new material. Due to the size and dimension of this timber, I'm using a combination of my chop saw and a reciprocating saw to make this cut. I test fit the pieces in place and double check with my set square to make sure we're going to have the 90-degree angle for the stairs. It's easier to pre-assemble these two pieces of treated timber and insert them as one whole unit.
Another rainy afternoon, I don't know what I'm to do. I just miss you more than anything. It's way too quiet in the house. I'm just wasted on the couch, 'cause I don't wanna feel anything. Wish you'd stayed here beside me. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Wish you'd stayed here right with me. I can't shake that feeling that we said goodbye too soon.
With the new retaining wall fitting in place at the correct angle, I attach it to the old retaining wall and add some stakes to secure it in place.
I know the hour's getting late. I shouldn't sit here contemplating. I just can't stop thinking about us. I won't forget a single thing. Drunken nights and Sunday mornings, and how you smile at me. Wish you'd stayed here beside me. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Wish you'd stayed here right with me. I can't shake that feeling that we said goodbye too soon.
With the timber retaining wall in place, I can start the excavation of what'll be the first step from the deck on our stairway. To pour concrete in a structure like this, I'm using the dirt as part of the formwork to shape my concrete. So the dirt has to be excavated carefully and specifically. This way I'll end up with the correct thickness of concrete for our foundation.
Wish you'd stayed here beside me. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Wish you'd stayed here right with me. I can't shake that feeling that we said goodbye too soon.
I'm now ready to start constructing the formwork that'll shape the concrete slab. I start this process by installing heavy timbers along the edge of the deck to establish the height of the first step. This also helps establish the right-hand corner of our stairway, so I can start the construction of the formwork that define the steps that take us up the hill to the parking space. My client had some old post material that'll work well for constructing the edge of the step formwork. I follow my string line to keep the steps straight and double check with my set square to make sure that we're getting the right height as we go up the hill.
You master how to simplify. You turn rain into a blue sky. Oh, when the wind blows and the windows are closing, you let the world know what has been has been. There's no use in looking back, going back, wishing back.
I continue the process of establishing the height of each of our 6 steps as I move up the hillside to the end of the stairway.
Can be romantic, sipping coffee under the apple tree. It's gentle, manly. Well, you're a good man, quite the best man, a real fine man. When the wind blows and the windows are closing, you let the world know what has been. There's no use in looking back, going back, wishing back.
As the timber formwork establishes the step height, I'm able to accurately continue the excavation for the concrete foundation. As I mentioned earlier, I want to be very accurate with how I excavate this soil, because it's going to set the depth of the concrete we'll be pouring later.
And the windows are closing. You let the world know that what has been has been. And there's no use in looking back, going back, wishing back. You master how to simplify. You turn rain into a blue sky. Oh, when the wind blows and the windows are closing, you let the world know what has been has been. There's no use in looking back, going back, wishing back.
Join me on the next episode as we finish the timber formwork and get the concrete poured for the first 3 steps.
Be romantic, sipping coffee under the apple tree. It's gentle, manly. Well, you're a good man, quite the best man, a real